Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, day 299 of the current situation, waiting for the biggest snowstorm of the century to begin here in Spain, and I think the first flakes of snow have begun to fall, but more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation. You can see your names here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news, and as I said, we're waiting for the snowstorm to begin here in Madrid and a lot of other parts of the country, and the government has said that they are going to deploy all the available means and infrastructures to face the snowstorm. The storm Filomena, that is affecting the peninsula, the Canary Islands and Ceuta at the moment, has activated alerts throughout Spain except in the autonomous community of Melilla, and in half of the country there is an orange warning for snowfall, heavy rain, especially in the south, and temperatures down to minus 12 degrees. And in the northeast of Spain, at the Piquet de Barret ski station in the Catalan Pyrenees, they have registered a minimum of 34.1 below zero, a historical record for cold in the peninsula. The drop in temperatures has been noticed in a large part of mainland Spain, reaching historic lows in different parts of the country. So there we go, record lows in many parts of the country. We saw a place there with minus 34 degrees and temperatures as low as minus 11 predicted for places like Madrid in coming days. Now, as I have mentioned in recent videos, the COVID-19 vaccination plan here in Spain is a bit behind schedule. The different autonomous communities in Spain are operating at different speeds when it comes to vaccinating the population. And I think only one area here in Spain, Asturias in the north, has been able to administer 100% of the available doses. However, the Health Minister, Mr. Illa, is again in the news today, and he has announced that Spain will receive doses of the Moderna anti-COVID vaccine in 7 or 10 days. Despite the good news, the Minister of Health has admitted that his department has a very high concern about the evolution of the pandemic throughout the country. The Minister of Health, Salvador Illa, announced this Thursday that Spain will receive the first doses of the coronavirus vaccine developed by the pharmaceutical company Moderna, recently approved by the European Medicines Agency, in the next 7 or 10 days. According to the ministry's calculations, in 6 months the company will have supplied 600,000 doses in the next 6 weeks to the Spanish government, which will proceed to distribute them to the autonomous communities. So in 7 or 10 days, according to the minister, this new vaccine will arrive, and we'll see if the central government and the regional governments are able to increase output and get the vaccination plan back on track. One autonomous community, Madrid, has decided to deviate from the central government's vaccination plan. They have decided to subcontract their vaccination plan to the Red Cross at the cost of €130 a month. The regional government has granted a 6-month contract for €804,098 without going to public tender. In this way, Madrid becomes the first autonomous community to turn to the private sector for health services of this type. The purpose of the agreement is for this entity to provide a support service in the campaign that began on December the 27th, 2020. So no surprises there as the Madrid government decides to privatise part of the vaccination plan, awarding an $800,000 contract to the Red Cross without going to public tender first, and time will no doubt tell if this has been a successful thing to do or whether it's just another waste of public money. Now, as we all know, this new, more contagious strain of the coronavirus has been detected in Spain, but apparently this new strain of the coronavirus has been circulating in Spain for 2 weeks, experts have concluded. The new, more contagious strain of the coronavirus that was first detected in the UK is already circulating in Spain between people who have no epidemiological connection with that country. That's according to a preliminary genetic analysis carried out by the Fabio Foundation Research Institute in Valencia, which has found the same mutations of SARS-CoV-2 that were detected in the UK in samples taken 2 weeks ago from 2 patients who had not travelled to the country nor come into contact with someone who had. So the new strain there, as we can see, has been circulating around the country for at least 2 weeks and apparently didn't arrive from the UK by plane as first thought. Now let's have a look at the health situation here in Spain by looking at a map of the country and a couple of autonomous communities. Firstly, the country as a whole, we can see that the risk level is high. We can see the total amount of cases almost hitting the 2 million mark. The accumulated incidence rate in the last 14 days now at 296. There have been 550 COVID-related deaths in the last 7 days. There are currently 13,841 patients hospitalised with COVID around the country, and there are 2,220 COVID patients in ICUs, which is just over 23% of all ICUs in Spain. Andalusia now, we can see the risk level is medium. The accumulated incidence rate for the last 14 days, now 154. We can see there have been 49 COVID-related deaths in the last 7 days. Hospital pressure now, we can see that there are currently 1,143 patients hospitalised in Andalusia with COVID. And there are 204 COVID patients in ICUs in Andalusia, which is around 12.5% of all ICUs in that particular autonomous community. And finally, Murcia, we can see that the risk level there is high. The total amount of cases, the AI rate for the last 14 days, now 274. There have been 19 COVID-related deaths in the last 7 days. There are currently 281 patients hospitalised in Murcia with COVID, and there are 73 COVID patients in ICUs, which is just over 15.5% of all ICUs in the Murcia region. Now, some good news for people that are looking to move to Spain, but are perhaps not interested in the crowded coastal areas, or maybe you are living in a big city here in Spain and you would like to move to somewhere a little bit quieter. Well, you're in luck, because Aragon and the two Castiles have decided to promote tax advantages to curb depopulation. The measures contemplate the payment of lower quotas in Social Security and the autonomous section of personal income tax to direct subsidies to stop the loss of inhabitants. Aragon, Castilla-La Mancha and Castilla y León are studying applying a series of tax advantages which could range in lower quotas in Social Security payments and the autonomous section of personal income tax to direct subsidies to try to stop and even reverse the loss of population in Teruel, Cuenca and Soria. The regional presidents, Javier Lamban, Emiliano García Paje and Alfonso Fernández Mañueco, demand from the EU a common aid scheme to compensate economic activity in the three provinces. 70% of Spain's surface is an immensity of 370,000 square kilometres that only has 6 million inhabitants. The other 41 million people are concentrated in Madrid, the coastal areas and some inland cities. The decompensation, already brutal in itself, is aggravated in Soria, Teruel and Cuenca, the only provinces with a population density of less than 12.5 inhabitants per square kilometre, compared to 93 for the Spanish average. And these inhabitants are increasingly aged and impoverished, a rare population gap even in the European Union, where it only occurs in the northernmost regions of Scandinavia and Scotland. So there we go, lower social security payments, a reduction in income tax and even direct subsidies if you're willing to move to Teruel, Cuenca or Soria. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from recent videos. First one here from Trisha. Hola Stuart, I'm always interested in Spanish food and have sampled lots of it. Patatas a lo pobre, poor man's potatoes, are my favourite dish. Tortilla española, potato omelette, another. As you have probably gathered, I love potatoes. Best wishes from Kent, UK. Yeah, Trisha, thanks for the comment. And yes, I did get the impression that you like potatoes, given those two dishes that you mentioned there. Patatas a lo pobre, a fantastic potato dish. I love it myself. And the famous tortilla española, which is no doubt one of the most popular dishes here in the country, as you see it in virtually every bar and every restaurant in Spain, normally sitting up there on top of the counter. And those are just two of many ways that the Spanish have been able to create fantastic, tasty dishes with the humble spud. One here from Melinda. Do most people wear masks in Spain, or have they been politicised like in the US? Hi Melinda, thanks for the comment. To answer the first question, do most people wear masks in Spain? The answer is yes, because they are compulsory. By law here in Spain, you have to wear a mask everywhere you go. Indoors, outdoors, it doesn't matter, you have to wear a mask. In fact, the only exception to the rule, I think, is when you're doing exercise. That's the only time that you don't have to wear a mask. You see some people every now and again with the mask hanging around their ear or down here under the chin. And of course, if people are outside having a drink or something to eat, they are also allowed to take off the mask. But that rule can also vary depending on where you are in the country. And to answer the second question, has it been politicized like in the United States? Some people have tried. Of course, there are the anti-mask wearing groups around. I think that's fairly similar in most Western countries around the world. But the politicization of mask wearing in Spain is nothing like it is in the United States. And the main reason for that is that politicians in this country haven't made it a political issue like they've done in the USA. One here from Elizabeth. Looking forward to all these new public holidays when we move to Spain. So excited. Yeah, Elizabeth, thanks for the comment. Good to see that you are excited about moving to Spain and that you're excited to be able to have all of these public holidays in the future. Something like 14 public holidays this year, I think. We've just finished a pretty heavy public holiday period, starting at the beginning of December, of course. We had a couple of public holidays on the 6th and the 8th. Then, of course, over the Christmas period and finishing yesterday, the 6th of January, and finishing yesterday, the 6th of January with Three Kings Day. And that's the last one for a while. I don't think there's too many more until Easter. so we should be able to get a few months' work under our belts without so many interruptions. One here from Mary. Hi Stuart, great interview with Alex in Valencia. The facts you present are the ones that relate to real people and provide a view of Spain that is difficult to find elsewhere. We are in trance with Spain and Valencia tops the list so far. There are few things to beat its climate and we are impatiently waiting for the COVID restrictions to end so that we can get there and find out firsthand what Valencia is all about. Please keep up the good and informative work and stay healthy, you and your family. All the best, Mary and Guillermo in Montreal. Yeah, Mary, thanks for the comment and glad to see that you liked that video that I did with Alex, who is living down there in Valencia, which was recently named the best city for foreign living. Down there, of course, on the Mediterranean, great food, great weather, and like yourselves, there are a lot of people in trance with that part of the world. But just remember that if you ever get sick of that Mediterranean lifestyle and fantastic climate, that there are a couple of cities in Spain that may start to offer incentives to get people like you to move there. So if you're coming from a place like Canada and you don't want to forget those cold winters, you can keep those places in mind. One here from Maria. The Mañana system has even affected vaccinations. No urgency to get it done like everything else. Blame it on everybody else. Holidays are fun and far more important. I think I'm getting a little bit skeptical. Roll on 2022. Maybe we might get back to normal by then. Yeah, Maria, thanks for the comment. Roll on 2022. Maybe, as you said, we can get things back to normal by then. I'm optimistic that that will be the case. People here in Spain, especially some of the politicians, are saying that it might even be as soon as autumn 2021. But to believe that, you can't be skeptical. And I'm with you. There doesn't seem to be a lot of urgency to get these vaccinations done, especially given the state that the country's in, and you would think that politicians would make that their number one priority given everything that we've been through over the last 9 or 10 months. One here from Yvel. The country's politicians look and act confused. Yvel, thanks for the comment and thanks for pointing that out. I hadn't realised that up until now, that politicians look and act confused, but I'm confident that this year they're going to get their act together and nip all of the problems that we have in the bud. And finally, one here from Angela. Best food in Spain is in the Basque Country and Catalonia. Yeah, Angela, thanks for the comment. I'm sure that the Basques and Catalans would agree with you when you say that the best food here in Spain is in those two particular areas. I'll be honest, the food in the Basque Country and Catalonia is very, very good, especially the Basque Country. A lot of the best chefs in the country come from that region, and Catalonia has also had its fair share of important chefs over the years. But to those two places that you mentioned there, I would also add Galicia and Asturias. You can also eat very well in those two parts of Spain, but I'm sure that there are lots of other places around the Spain where you can find good quality food that will keep your stomach content. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.